Hey guys, it's Justin from LitTube, and you're watching my Face2Face series. I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about some political policies, actually, because you have this ongoing argument between fiscal conservatives and progressives. See, progressives are pushing for a Medicare for all healthcare system, and fiscal conservatives don't want to go that route. And in fact, this extreme libertarian fiscal conservatives want to essentially gut all entitlements altogether and just completely get rid of them. Now, I understand that perhaps some drastic measures need to be taken in order to balance the United States national debt back to a balanced budget. Right now, we stand at 19.9 trillion dollars in our U.S. national debt, according to usdebtclock.org. And frankly, Social Security and Medicare Medicaid are the two largest budget items, also according to usdebtclock.org. So the fiscal conservatives have a point. You need to do something about entitlements in order to get the pendulum swinging in the right direction. However, the third largest budget item is defense and war. Defense and war, we're currently spending over $587 billion dollars on that as part of our budget. So that's the third largest. And what's also crazy about the defense spending is that, according to the Peter G. Peterson Foundation, we actually spend more on our defense than the eight next largest countries combined. So the next one after us would be China, but you can go down the list. The next eight largest countries in terms of their spending, we're spending combined more than all of them. So that's pretty crazy fact that we're spending that much on our military. And there's still calls to increase the military budget, particularly under President Donald Trump. So you take all this information into consideration. I already told you Medicare and Medicaid is the number one largest budget item. Social Security is number two. Defense and War is number three. Income security is number four. Net interest on debt is number five. And then federal pensions number six. Those are the six largest budget items according to, again, www.usdebtclock.org. You can go look it up for yourself. It's an official government website. I'm not making any of this data up. You can go look. It's a great site because you get all this different data to look at and analyze. So this is what I wanted to bring up, guys, is that because there's this ongoing, you know, clash of ideas between conservatives and progressives, and both of them have valid points. On the progressive side, you look at the fact that if you don't do Medicare for all, if you do any other kind of healthcare system, whether it's leaving it up completely to private insurance companies, doing some kind of version of Trump care or Obamacare, any of that, and you're going to have people that are dying because they can't afford health insurance or health care, I should say. Ideally, you get the insurance companies out entirely because their motive is just to profit off of you. So that's not really helping you towards health care at all. But I came up with a possible compromise between fiscal conservatives and progressives, and I want to lay it out for you. So what if we were to phase out Social Security entirely and then expand Medicare so that everyone in the country is covered with health care? My idea is you do Medicare for all. You more than make up for it by getting rid of Social Security, and then you also cut the defense spending since we spend way too much on defense and war. I believe that would be a great path to go down to not only basically kill two birds with one stone, because you make sure that everyone in the country has their basic healthcare needs covered. Everyone has coverage. Everyone that's sick can see a doctor and get well. And you also make good steps towards balancing the budget because you're getting rid of Social Security, which is the number two budget item, and then you're also saving a little bit on defense and war by cutting that down. So here's the thing: if you got rid of Social Security, that's $931 billion, actually more than $931 billion that you would be saving in the budget. That is just huge. That's huge savings. And with that, you can not only do you can do Medicare for all and then have plenty of savings left over to pay down the debt. See, that's where we got off track in this country, really, is that somehow, and I don't know if it was totally through, it had to be a combination of things, but I think two of the biggest things that contributed were the stimulus packages. I think about under Obama. I think about under Obama and Bush, all of the, intervention in the Middle East, whether it's the Iraq War or, just trying to generally fight terrorism over there. I mean, doing that kind of stuff's expensive, especially when you leave the weapons behind for the terrorists to use, and you got to go back and fight them again. All you think about all the interventions in Libya and all around the world. That's my biggest problem. We're nation building, and that's part of the reason why our defense budget's so high. You think about the defense budget. What do we really need the military for more than anything else? To defend us on our own soil. That's what we would really need the military for more than anything else. And you can frankly do that effectively with probably like half the military budget. Now, I'm not saying you cut it that much. I mean, frankly, you can leave it the same, really, and you'd probably still be okay as long as you were to phase out the Social Security. But I just don't like the nation building's not necessary. We have bases in all these other countries. Think of it. Does any other country do that? Does any other country just try to exert their will with their military all over the world, try to be world police? No, we take that upon ourselves, and it's very expensive to do so. But to get back on my point here, I think there's a real potential for a compromise here between the people that have a libertarian and fiscal conservative leaning and the people that lean progressive. Because here's the thing, progressives should be happy with this compromise because yes, you're getting rid of Social Security, and ideally you phase it out. You don't just do it all at once because that's going to piss people off. I think about the people that are just about to retire, the paid in their whole lives. It's not fair to just take it away from them. But for someone like me, I'm young. I have paid into Social Security my whole life. But if you took it away from me and said I wasn't going to ever get paid out Social Security, I'd be fine with it because it's not like I paid into it and I'm just about to collect it like age 65. I can bite the bullet on that one. But what's if I think about if you can only have one, if you can only afford in your budget to have Medicare for all, where everyone gets health coverage and no one's going to be dying in the street, or you can have Social Security. I mean, if you had to pick between the two, it's a no-brainer because Medicare for all would ensure that all your citizens don't have to worry about their health. They're going to be covered no matter what. It's something that benefits everybody in the country virtually, besides the people that already have like really, really nice health insurance through their jobs and could care less. But in a vacuum, it helps everybody in the country because it doesn't matter what your age is, doesn't matter what your gender is, you're getting this benefit. You're getting this benefit of having your health coverage taken care of by the government. Um, Social Security, I feel like, is not as necessary because really all you're doing with Social Security is ensuring income security for the elderly. You're ensuring people that they're going to get payment for their retirements, they can stop working. And frankly, if you took that away, if you stopped, taking Social Security out of people's taxes, I mean, at that point, you can use that money instead to invest for your own retirement. And even if you don't, I mean, listen, I think what's more important is that people have quality of life in general, and with Social Security, it's not something you're thinking about getting paid until you're 65 anyway. If you make it to 65, you've already you've already lived the best years of your life at that point anyway. So that's why I like the idea of putting the preference on Medicare for all, making sure that whether you're 1 year old or 99 years old, you're never going to have to worry about health care. You're never going to have to worry about not being able to pay the insurance company. You're just going to have everything covered. I just really, and guys, I used to actually consider myself a libertarian, and part of the reason was I really saw the need to pay down the nation's debt. I see it as a problem, a huge problem. I mean, for crying out loud, fifth on the largest budget item list, net interest on debt. We're paying like $262 billion a year on interest on the debt. That does not take down the principal. I'm just talking interest payments. It's like when you max out a credit card and you're doing the minimum payment every year. That's what we're doing right now, basically. So it is a huge problem. You need to find a way to get the debt down. At the same time, though, if you're going to get rid of all entitlements and do it right away, people in this country are going to suffer. Now, I think, you know, if you had to, what makes people suffer the most, that would be not having health coverage because you can die. At least with Social Security being gone, even if you did a horrible job of saving your money for retirement, you know what? You can still live in the now. You don't have to worry about waking up tomorrow and getting sick with cancer and you can't pay for it. You're still gonna live. You're still gonna be able to see a doctor and get that taken care of. Social Security is more like, that's something that's not even gonna affect you till you're already elderly. So that's the way I look at this. If you had to choose between one of those social programs, Medicare all the way, because guess what? It helps everybody right now. It's not about waiting until you're 65 to see a benefit. A lot of people won't even live to 65. You see the benefits now, no matter what your age or your gender. So that is what I say the compromise should be with between progressives and fiscal conservatives. And for fiscal conservatives, I mean, yes, a lot of those people that fall in the fiscal conservative camp don't want to see any entitlements. They'd rather just gut them all. They'd rather just, leave everyone to their own devices and, you are what you make out of yourself in this world. Like that's really the mindset of the fiscal conservative in a lot of ways, is that you shouldn't rely on the government for anything. And I can understand the appeal of that perspective, but the problem is when you come back to reality, you realize that charities are not going to take care of everybody. You can't rely on private citizens to get all the homeless off the street and get everybody on health coverage. It just doesn't work that way. It will never work that way. So, in my opinion, this would be a very good thing to do and a very good compromise from both camps, because if you did this compromise, you got rid of Social Security, but you pumped up Medicare so everyone's getting it. That's still a net like savings for the budget, because you're withdrawing $931 billion out of the budget that would go to Social Security. And then that can either be used to pay down the debt, or it could just be used to give that money back to the citizens and generate economic growth because everyone has more money. I mean, either way you want to do it, uh, it makes sense to me. Um, and again, just to go back to the point on defense and war real quick, I mean, I want to give you the full picture here. So, um, again, the Peter G. Peterson Foundation is where I looked up the information, but this information is available on many other sites. According to this website, it shows a graphic where the United States pays $611 billion a year towards defense spending. Now, that number is a little bit different from U.S. National Debt Clock. U.S. National Debt Clock, because on that site it says 587 billion. So, the numbers are a little different, granted, but according to the Peter G. Peterson Foundation, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, India, France, United Kingdom, Japan, Germany. Those are the countries that have the largest militaries in terms of the money they spend on it compared to us. And if you total up all of those 8 countries, $595 billion spent among all 8 of them. So, like, it's basically like we're paying so much more than even like the next highest country, which is China. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And I hear this argument from people, uh, on the far right that say we need to pump up the military spending, that our military is depleted and all, but it's nonsense. It's garbage. If there's anything wrong with our military, with the amount of money we're spending on it, then at that point that's just the fault of the defense contractors, pushing through things to the Pentagon that never get used. I've heard stories about how the Lockheed Martin or some other defense contractor will sell the United States military some type of equipment and ends up going in the scrap heap and never gets used. You think about all the equipment we waste over the Middle East, don't bring it back, when we're over there. So it's a lot of waste. So number one, you cut out the waste, you cut out the nation building, no more intervening, overthrowing dictators, and things like that. And it'll go a long way towards fixing this $19.9 trillion budget issue we face. Now, I'd love to live in a country where we have a balanced budget and can do more to take care of our citizens. But the first step, we got to balance the budget. But again, rather than just full on cut all the social programs in their entirety, I think that's a huge mistake. It's going to make a lot of people suffer. I really do feel like we can pay down this national debt over an extended period of time while also providing Medicare for all to our citizens. So I believe that's the compromise. It's probably never going to get brought. This compromise probably won't get brought up in Congress because you have a lot of people that are just completely bought by the corporations, whether they're Democrat or Republican. And I mean that's why even on the Democrats you don't see them pushing for Medicare for all. It's the only reason they're not is because they got the corporations in their back pocket. That's why Bernie Sanders is the only one that's even like being really vocal about the Medicare for all out of the people in Congress because he's not bought. He understands it helps people. He doesn't care about the corporations. We shouldn't care about the corporations as much as we do, honestly. I mean, the corporations will be fine. They'll be fine. It's the common people we gotta start taking care of. And this is again, I'm someone that comes at this from an independent point perspective. If I was super liberal, I'd be saying, hey, Medicare for all, and then pump up Social Security. But I understand we can't afford to do it that way. Something's got to give. You got to cut something out of this budget because the budget is too inflated. And cutting defense alone, it would help, but honestly, it's probably time for a more drastic measure. So I'm saying you phase out Social Security, you reduce defense spending, you pump up to Medicare for all. Still, it's going to be a net savings, and you can use that savings to pay down the debt. So leave me in the comments section what you think about this proposed compromise between progressives and fiscal conservatives. And if you have a better solution, please comment. Tell me why you think it's better. But I'm telling you guys, I've heard the arguments on both sides, and you always nothing's going to give unless there's a compromise, particularly one proposed by an independent. I consider myself an independent. I'm not affiliated with any party, and I'm giving you a compromise here on the table that I believe will reduce the national debt and also help out our citizens in terms of getting everyone covered for health care, and no one's going to be dying because they don't have it anymore. So comment, like, subscribe to LitTube, and I look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments section.